Mika will not play tonight because he violated a team rule. He missed a team meeting this morning, and so he will not play tonight. He'll be available tomorrow.
Do you expect Matt Nuppy to play tonight?
He'll be a game time decision, but I would anticipate him being available.
I mean, anything else with Mika? I guess as far as how he handled it, have you guys had conversations or?
Mika and I had a conversation about it. You know, there are logistical challenges that this city presents sometimes. But having said that, I think Mika understands, you know, the importance of that the rules that we all expect of one another, and you know, this is something that I think, from his standpoint, obviously he feels terribly. You know, the one thing about Mika is he's an honest person. He's a great human being, and you know, he takes responsibility for it. It's certainly not something that we would like to happen. But having said that, we believe strongly in the process that we have in place. And you know, the process that we have, you know, I think is important for everyone to understand what the expectations are, and Mika understands that as a leader of the team. As I said, you know, none of us are perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and we'll move by this, and he'll be available tomorrow, and he'll be the player that he's been for us all year long.
Just in general, what have you made of JT and Vincent together, and just why do you think they've been so effective in that shutdown defensively?
Well, I wouldn't characterize them as utilizing them as a shutdown line. I think, you know, if you think in terms of going power against power, there's opportunity there. You know, if you know, Mika and Troach are amongst two of our best forwards, offensively and defensively, and so when they play against other teams' top players, they have an opportunity to outplay those guys at both ends of the rink on both sides of the puck, and that gives us a better chance to win. So I don't look at it as we're turning Mika and Troach into, JT and Troach into checkers. That isn't the intent at all. It's, you know, we're gonna go power against power, and the reason we think that is we believe our guys are going to be better than our opponents' guys.
Okay. I think one more big picture. I wanted to ask you. The other day we were talking about some of the, you know, kind of creating off the rush and getting pucks deep and all that. On the defensive side, big picture, I'm curious. Are you surprised at all? You know, you guys grade out pretty well as far as scoring chances allowed and things of that nature. Are you surprised at all, given the system changes with the forecheck, with the D-zone coverage, how quickly the team has been able to play, you know, pretty solid defense, you know, given some of the new things maybe you're introducing?
No, I don't think I'm surprised. You know, I think, you know, when you look at how the league is, you know, how the game's being played across the league, you know, there's predominantly two defensive zone coverage schemes that are prevalent in today's NHL, right? There's a heavy swarm when the puck's down low with three guys in the puck battle, and then when you get out of that, if you're able to get the puck out of that swarm, it turns into man-on-man. And then there's zone coverage where it looks like a box and one, 5 in a quadrant. It's not unlike a swarm. It just, maybe it isn't, you know, maybe you're not going into the battle with 3, maybe you're going into the battle with 2. But so there's really, at the end of the day, over the last probably, I don't know, decade plus, those are the two prevalent defensive zone schemes that are across the league. And most of these guys have played in both of those. Now, there are subtleties in how those, there are differences in how those are being played with respective teams, subtle differences. in certain scenarios. You know, how teams play a climb when a forward climbs from the goal line and carries the puck up the half wall to the top of the circles, and then the D moves somewhere, like how those scenarios are being played. You know, does a team let a defenseman extend and chase that climb if he's the contact man on the puck versus, you know, what we would call a hard stop where the D return to the net and they flex a low forward. That's an example, right, of subtleties and nuances within how teams play inside of those schemes. But at the end of the day, there's really, in my estimation, there's two prevalent D-zone coverage schemes across the league. Most of these guys have played in both. So is it an adjustment when you go from one to the other? Yes. But it's not like we're introducing these revolutionary concepts that they're not familiar with. They're very familiar with them, right? And it's more about the subtleties, the nuances, the if-then scenarios. How do we play this scenario? How do we play this scenario, right? That's where the differences lie team to team. So I'm not surprised that we were able to grasp this. We work at it hard through video and in our practices, but, you know, I give the players credit for embracing it.
With the quadrant kind of style, do you feel like that helps you guys protect the middle of the ice better, like the slot area, the net front area? Do you feel like that has been fairly solid as far as you guys being able to defend those areas so far?
I think we've done a better job at defending the good ice, as we would call it, right? The high danger zone. You know, when you think theoretically in terms of, you know, what that scheme looks like, there should be people in that area all the time. So, you know, that's part of the, you know, that's built into the scheme, so to speak. You know, there's layers of defense. There's, you know, if something breaks down, there's contingency plans built into the scheme, as opposed to, say, a man-on-man where if somebody gets beat, there might not be a layer of defense behind that or whatever it may be. So it all depends on what your personnel group looks like and what you think is best. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I think, you know, across the league, it's, you know, there's a bunch of teams playing both right now. But, you know, so it's more about what do you think suits your personnel group the best, and then based on that, you know, then it's about buy-in and commitment.